Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Show, where we talk about all components of business and how to utilize them for exponential growth. My name is Athin Cassiotis. I'm a business strategist where I help business owners grow and scale to create freedom and choice. And today, I have an awesome guest. She's an entrepreneur, investor, and property strategist. She helps you to invest in properties in high demand areas that provide positive cash flow so you can achieve a passive income and financial independence and transform and grow your wealth. Welcome, Maria Micallef, and thank you for being on my show.
Thank you so much, Athin. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, it's
great
awesome.
Intro, by the way.
Thank you very much. I'm very well known for my intros, so if you want to use that, you can on the side. I love it, and I'm sure it's going to be an amazing episode for everyone watching and listening today. So you're a very successful entrepreneur. So for those people who don't know who you are, please introduce yourself by telling us about you and your journey.
My journey has been over a number of years, and it's been wide and varied. It's been interesting. I thought I wanted to be a journalist when I was young, so I started in radio and worked my way through into and ended up in marketing, which was something I really enjoyed because it really was an opportunity to use something that is essentially my character, which is a jack of all trades, master of none. I finally found where that's really effective, and it ended up being in marketing and then sales. So I worked at major events like the largest event in the Southern Hemisphere, which is the Sydney Royal Easter Show, believe it or not, and then just moved into the corporate realm and then sales before I discovered that, property really is a passion I've had ever since my 20s, and learning how to do it for myself, I've really been able to gravitate into this role and just create some success for others as well. So it's ended up being my home, and so this is how I got here, I guess. I got here though by listening to the opportunities that were around me and following what the universe was telling me, and it really can guide you when you keep an open mind.
Yeah, I love that. What an amazing diverse journey there. And your title is very interesting, property strategist, and some people may be like, well, what is a property strategist? So can you explain what a property strategist is compared to maybe some of the other professions in the property industry as well?
Yes, certainly. A number of people will confuse a property strategist with buyer's agent, and we're very different in that firstly, we don't charge a fee for our services, so people get to leverage our knowledge and expertise at no cost to them, and just really glean everything from what we've achieved to then help themselves. As a strategist, what we're about is we don't come with a view to selling, we come with a view to listening. So we listen to our clients, identify their purpose, what their goals are, and then we develop a strategy from which we can achieve their goals through the purchase of the right property. So it's all about listening and then identifying what they really need. And that's not just listening over a 5-minute conversation. We have a series of conversations, and we find that the longer we talk to people, the more we can dig down and get at the core of what they really want. And that's important, because then we can find the right property that's going to achieve their goals and help them on their way to the big end goal. So that's where we're a little bit different.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome analogy of being a bit different there. And if someone's going new into the property, let's say they haven't invested in a property before, and it sounds like you're a great person as a property strategist to speak to first, right, to see what their needs are and everything else. But there's also many other stakeholders, right, that need to be involved in that process to finally get the property under their name, so to speak. So do you want to just maybe share who the other stakeholders are to make sure so that they get that good result as well?
Well, ultimately, we have a network of experienced professionals to assist in that. And it's really important, because when you're investing in property, it's one thing to have a strategist on your side, because a strategist should be working for you and identifying all the key factors that you want out of a property. So it's very important to identify the right location based on infrastructure growth, job growth, population growth is key to begin with. But after you select that property, you know, the key to doing it successfully is having a strong team around you, which includes a conveyancer who's got a lot of experience and a mortgage broker. You might have a need for an accountant. They don't need to weigh in that much unless you're really going to look down the path of a trust setup. The reason I say that is because I think some accountants can really be a deterrent and not be in the know. They sometimes act as property experts, and not all of them, but some do. And so you've got to be careful you listen to the right people. But, you know, just going to a broker is not a good thing to do. There are some good brokers out there and there are some really bad ones, and they can make or break a deal for you. Similarly with conveyancers, a conveyancer, if they do not understand the nature of what you're buying, they can stop you again from purchasing something that was really good. And I'll give you an example to illustrate, okay? I had a guy who was buying an NDIS property from us, and NDIS investments are fantastic, high yielding and very rewarding. However, they come with challenges, and I recommended he go to the conveyancer we use for ourselves, for our clients, because they are familiar with the contracts of an NDIS purchase. And he agreed to it, and then he decided to go locally to someone he could meet with face to face, because that was what he saw as important. But then when he asked questions and didn't understand elements of the contract, the conveyancer couldn't answer it, and the conveyancer did not do the right thing in connecting him with the right parties to get that question answered. The client did not go through with the purchase, to his detriment, because he was getting it for a steal, an absolute steal. It was like mid sixes, the price point, mid to high sixes. You now need at least $200,000 more, if not more, to be able to buy that same property today for an NDIS solution. So by not having the right advice, it stopped him from getting something that was a really strong investment. And I just couldn't save it. He got scared off instead of having the right team to guide him through that process. And same with mortgage brokers, because when you're buying a property, you've got other processes in that step as well. You know, you've got the all-important valuation. And so for newbies, you're wondering, what's a valuation? A valuation is where you've got a bank coming in and asking someone to put a price and a value on the property you want to buy. They're really conservative. It's very rare it'll come at the purchase price. So, but the thing is, different brokers can get different outcomes. And again, if you get a valuation that's really wide compared to well under the purchase price, it may mean that you just don't have the funds to go through with it. So that's just one element. And then, you know, you've got some mortgage brokers who've just got access to more wide and varied products, who understand the complexities of people, for example, who work for themselves or and therefore are self-employed. They're always more challenging. Or, you know, you might be in a very tight situation financially, but different brokers can achieve different outcomes. So we have our preferred list of brokers who each have their expertise to help them, as well as the conveyancer and accountants if they need them too. So yeah. Oh, and of course you've got then the final step, which is the property management. My goodness me, this is where that's where the rubber hits the road. Okay, so we've gone through the whole process. You must have the right property manager. If you do not, it will cost you. And we're talking about not just getting a good rental income. You want to get a tenant that you know can give you the highest amount of rent, that is qualified, so you know that yes, they can meet this rental fee each week. You want to know that they're going to look after your property, and you also want to know that the property management team are going to look after your property as well, and they're going to do everything to maximise your return on investment. I recently had a client who went through the process. I gave him a couple of recommendations. He went to a different property manager, And yeah, let's just say I don't think the outcome was favourable to the client. They got a good income for the first year, but yeah, they were locked into a 2-year lease, which is not something I would recommend at this point in time, given the way rental incomes are just going up annually, significantly so, by 30%, 40% in some cases each year. That trend is not going to stop. So that to me was a costly error, but they're happy. So yeah, it's important to have the right team around you and to be guided by us as property strategists. We're not recommending someone because we're getting income from it, far from it. We are recommending people that, because that's not what it's about. We don't take any income from the people we recommend, just as a record. There are no kickbacks here. It's all about getting the right team to ensure the best outcome in your investment. And there's a reason that we get repeat business. There's a reason why we get referrals through word of mouth and even generational investors, you know, starting with mum and dad and down to their kids. We get that because we're all about the client and getting the best outcome for them through our services and by extension, the team.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. You know, you're the perfect partner and you know, that team and part of it, and great examples there. And let's talk about a bit of the different types of property investments, and especially one, let's go to first, you mentioned already NDIS. So, you know, for those that don't know, it's National Disability Insurance Scheme, right? For those that
Correct.
The acronym is. So these are like government funded type of, you know, property investment. So what's the benefits of having, you know, investing into one of those?
Well, it's, you know, people are attracted to the high yields. However, I have seen them be impacted by rising costs of land, rising cost of build. So I've got a tenant at the moment who's earning a 14% yield with 2 out of the 3 tenants, which is an amazing outcome. However, now we are scouring, looking for land where we can get a yield that's minimum 12%. So that's something we work on as a basis. But NDIS is all about, it's actually a great way to invest and do something good for the community and helping out the disabled community. NDIS scheme has a variety of different bills for different levels of disability. So you've got at the very high end, the high physical needs category, which is your paraplegics and they're paralysed from the neck down. When this scheme was introduced, a lot of builders and a lot of people went out there building high physical needs everywhere because it offers the highest income. The thing is, it's also the smallest group. So only 8% of the disability participants fall into that category. So as a result, a lot of these homes that were built have remained empty. We focus on robust, which is the next tier down. That is for those who are mentally handicapped, and it's a very broad range. There's a lot of different realms of mental disability within that, and we cater and understand the different levels there. And so that's another category. And then you've got fully accessible, which is for people in wheelchairs. And then the other one, which is more for those that can live independently. The bills we do cover the independent living as well as the robust. And so that's why you can get a very strong return through those investments. The homes are built strong and sturdy. There's an extra cost associated with that. And we build them in locations where we know there's a need, not just a handful. We're talking about a significant need that therefore means we can get tenants for them. And that's another important thing in doing and providing this solution. What's different about the property investment stories, we actually come up with the designs. We've put in a lot of effort into making sure they're compliant and attractive to the participant. That is the key in everything that we do with our high yielding properties. We want to make sure that they're desirable to the tenants, because if you win them over, then you win in getting your property tenanted and getting that strong return on your investment. So it starts with us designing them. We source the land, we work with the builder who then makes our vision a reality. We get them registered, they get assessed and registered. But then again, again, we also do the property management. So this is again what's different about Property Investment Store. We do the full end-to-end solution. We have an in-house team who source the tenants. They do that from the moment you've purchased your property, and we've reached the stage now where 99% of our properties that have been built are tenanted, and we have a reputation amongst the disability community where people are coming to us asking, do you have a property? People seek us out, they like what we've built, and so it's created a real positive outcome for our investors so far.
Yeah, awesome. Love that. Really powerful, outcomes there. And I know another, type of investment that you help with is co-living investments.
Yeah.
So tell us more about those.
I personally love co-living because we have such a rental crisis right now, which is the reason the rental incomes are going up all the time, and it's making it very difficult, sadly, for those people looking for somewhere to stay. I'm hearing stories in lots of different locations where people are living in their cars. In other states, people are living in hotels. You can imagine what that bill must look like, right? There's just not enough housing to accommodate the population we have now. And all we're doing is, rightfully so, we need it, we're getting migrants in as well. So that's only going to add pressure to that. And yes, the government have got initiatives in place, but the reality is for them to achieve their goal of 1 million homes to be built, they're going to need to have the land as well. So that's going to be interesting to see if the land can be developed quick enough to allow for these builds. So a solution we have is co-living. And co-living not only addresses the crisis with the housing shortage, it also addresses the situation we are in demographically. There are a lot of people who are single. I can't remember the percentage, but it was a double-digit figure of women who never get married. So, within that, we're talking about professional working women who never marry. So you've got singles there, you've got widowers, widows, divorcees. There's just a whole range of individuals that are single who cannot afford to rent a home on their own, and some of them can't even afford an apartment. So never mind, they might not want to live in an apartment where it's condensed housing. They also might not be able to afford it in some cases. So a house enables them, a co-living is a solution where they're paying for a room, but they've got access to a whole house. And so you have 3 tenants. The way we do it is 3 tenants in one home. So it's a 3-bedroom home, but there is a 4th room. I'll explain in a minute. But each bedroom has its own air conditioning unit, its own ensuite. So they've got their own privacy and cleanliness there. Then they've got their own lockable pantry in the kitchen, their own linen cupboard. Each home we build has a double garage. It has a second lounge. So that's where the 4th room can come in, which will add value to the property for resale purposes for the investor. And then in some cases, we even whack in a study. And the point is that our builds are so large, you're looking at over 200 square metres, that it creates comfort for 3 people to coexist. And they also have that privacy. So they're not in each other's spaces. They've got security in what they have. Each tenant, they can choose either one of the garages or to have the spare lounge. So again, we've built them with the tenant in mind. So this is our design we're talking about. There are lots of co-livings out there. The designs we've come up with are large in locations where there's a huge demand for this style of housing, and it creates a comfort and just a beautiful environment for people to want to share them. I've heard the worst stories from people telling me about their sons. I had one woman telling me her son's living in a place in Queensland that doesn't even have an internal toilet. There's 3 of them sharing a house, if you can call it that, and they have to go outside to use the bathroom. I didn't think places like that existed. And he was paying, I think it was $250 a week for that. Imagine what a purpose-built large home with all the latest amenities and facilities and fixtures can attract from a tenant. And people are looking for that. They want that. So it's servicing the tenant's needs and it's rewarding the investor at the same time. So it's a great way to, yes, make money from a situation, but at the same time really provide a service to the community. That's why I love co-living.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm assuming the rental yield would be high, right?
It is. I haven't mentioned that. So the yield on these sorts of properties you're looking at in the first year is 7 to 8%, 7-8. So it's a high yielding property. You could be taking home roughly $300 a week after expenses. So that's your profit in just one of these properties. But at the same time, because you've got 3 tenants and you've got a rental crisis and very low vacancy rates that reflect that, as your rent increases, you're multiplying it by 3. So that's just your yield when you start. With each passing year, it just gets better and better.
Yeah, awesome. Love that. Really, really powerful. And obviously there's standard traditional investments and potentially some alternative ones there. And I'm assuming that they may still be an option. Obviously, it might not be the first
absolutely.
Option. Yeah.
Again, it's about what works for the client. It's an affordability thing. It's a timing thing. I've got clients who've bought townhouses from me that have done very well in the last 2 years in the growth of their property. And that was what their comfort level was. It's what they wanted to purchase. I would have still have gone with the house first and then do a townhouse perhaps second. But regardless, they bought in a great location and have done well. House and land, same thing. You can do really well out of a house and land investment. It's about the location. It's about what's going on around it. Looking at, upcoming events. We know, for example, with Brisbane and the Olympics, we've seen house prices go up and they will continue to do so. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's all about identifying the strategy that works for different individuals. I do find people who are closer to retirement age, in their 50s, they're looking for those high yielding properties. It makes sense. However, for younger individuals in their 20s and 30s, they can get something that's more traditional, like a house and land, a townhouse, even a dual key, which is positively geared, and benefit from growth over time because they have more time to play with. So in identifying what works, we listen to what their goals are. We look at their life situation, what they want to achieve in the short term as well as the long term. What's their budget? What's their timing? All these things are taken into account.
Yeah, awesome. Love that. And I know something very special, you do all these amazing things in the whole process, but something else that is special that you do as well is a lifetime rental income guarantee. So
that's right. Absolutely.
Tell us about that too.
I always forget about that because to me, it's like if you're buying in the right place, you do not need this, but we do provide it for peace of mind. So, there are people out there who still get nervous about their investments. I always recommend that they need not worry at the start in getting tenants. Maybe with the co-living, they'd want to have it implemented, but even then, if you get 2 out of 3 tenants in the first month, you're well ahead. So the lifetime rental guarantee serves as a bit of an insurance product and assures the investor that they will receive 4.5% of their rental income should it be not tenanted. And that's for the lifetime of the property, 4.5% of their purchase price. So that's there for peace of mind. But I really do believe that when you're dealing with people seek new properties out. They love it. And even today I was speaking with one of our builder contacts and he was telling me, there's just no new homes in this area and people really want that. There's a huge demand. So it attracts more tenants. People are willing to pay top dollar for it. So if there's a low vacancy rate, that will tell you the story as just to how quickly your property will be tenanted. And having said that, the lifetime rental guarantee is something that you don't have to implement from the start anyway. So that's why I mentioned that. You might want to introduce it 2 years down the track. But it's there as a safety net for people who want it.
Yeah, awesome. Always good to have it for some people in need. And now let's talk a little bit about the market. It's actually
also, quickly, an exclusive product we created especially for our clients. Yeah.
Awesome. Love that. Very powerful. So let's talk a little bit about the market and stuff and just general, because I know that there's so many cities, there's so many areas, there's so many variables and things. But what are you seeing now in the current market in terms of, I guess, cities or areas, whatever, you can think of that we've got some high growth potential? Because I'm sure, post-COVID era now that the market's changed a little bit as well.
Oh, it's changed a lot. So it was really funny because I think it was still in this position at the end of last year. I'm trying to think whether December it started to turn. But basically, definitely in the last quarter of last year, when you look at the property clock, every location was on the left-hand side of the clock, the left-hand side of the clock, which means everything was rising market or approaching rising market, hitting rising market, approaching peak. It was all on that side, which means that, yeah, in any location you invested in, within reason, you'd get growth. Now, however, it's a little more spread out. And we saw that from the first couple of months this year where it started to change, and we saw things peaking and then a declining market, which we're all well aware of. So that's interesting. That's where things have changed. And I do think it's important to look at where the growth still is. I think with Brisbane being on the decline, one thing people can take comfort in is that it's still worth investing in this location. If you're buying an existing property, you want to get obviously the best possible price for it, but I wouldn't wait too long because it's going to come around again, because we've still got another 9 years in the lead up to the Olympics. And you only have to look at what happened in Sydney to know that the growth was just exponential over that time. And it really didn't go backwards from there. So I expect that will happen in Brisbane. In a number of cities, that was the trend. It's just that Sydney had the most noticeable growth. And with Queensland being such a highly desirable location for lifestyle and climate, I imagine Brisbane will fare well. So it's interesting. You've got to look at the clock, but you've also got to look at what's going on socially, what infrastructure spend is happening. There's a lot of infrastructure being spent in Queensland, so it's a very strong state to invest in. A lot of different locations. I couldn't list them specifically because this is the thing. There are thousands of markets around Australia. Unfortunately, when the news talks about the property market, it's singular. It is not a singular thing. It's property markets. There are thousands of them in Australia, and when the news reports on it, often they're just talking about Sydney and Melbourne, and they refer to the market as Sydney. So when we look at the market, we're looking at everything. We're looking at the whole country, and there are a number of locations that are going strong in Queensland. There are what's been noticeable is there's been a shift with people moving to more regional locations. So what was happening last year is people were moving out of the big cities to smaller cities. Yeah, so from Sydney to Newcastle, for example, from Melbourne to Brisbane and thereabouts. Whereas now we're seeing people moving from smaller cities to regions. So there's been a bit of a boom in a lot of regional locations. So that's an interesting trend. And I think that's going to continue because rents having gone up so much have started to become difficult for those living in these areas. So they're the ones moving to regional locations. And guess what? That's driving up rents there. So that's why it's a good investment as well. So at the moment, while markets are all in different situations, I think key things to really look at are what are the vacancy rates like in each location, how much build is there going on. So for example, if you're investing in Sunshine Coast, which really has peaked now, as has Gold Coast, I got a lot of people in there before the peak, and I tried to get more. People don't listen. Land is running out in these locations. There's just very little left. So scarcity is going to make the value of those properties just go through the roof over time, and it'll be a continual thing because Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast are highly desirable locations. So that's an important thing to note as well. How much development is going on in an area? Are you going to be competing with other investors to get tenants? Which I know has happened, for example, in Wyndham Vale in Victoria. A number of people were sold Wyndham Vale properties because there's lots of land there. Terrific. But the demand isn't as strong. So again, that is the service that we can provide. It's about, yes, providing a strategy, but helping find a location where we know we're going to get those tenants and get that return on your investment, get the yield going up, and also growth in the property.
Yeah, awesome. Love all that. Really powerful. And you mentioned the media, and there's a lot of fear going on right in the market now, especially because of interest rates. They're increasing. Australia as well as globally due to high inflation. Potential recession talks are talking about, and everything like that, especially in certain countries. Potentially, maybe not Australia. We'll soon find out. So, what are your thoughts to people that have this fear, about the market situation?
Yeah, look, I've always been a big believer in mantras that others have come up with, jump in. What is it when you jump in and then figure out how to do it later? I can't remember it now, but feel the fear and do it anyway. I'll say that. Feel the fear and do it anyway. There are so many people I contacted who said, I'm just waiting to see what the market does. Why? If you've got the money to invest, do it straight away. Why? Because property is a long-term investment, and it's going to ride through loads of recessions, lots of interest rates going up and down. It's never going to be constant. It's always going to be changing. What won't change is the fact that land increases in value over time. That will always be the case. So for anyone who has got equity in their home, for anyone who's crying poor and stressed about interest rates going up, I urge you to look at your situation, talk to us, talk to your broker, have a look at your serviceability, which means, what income you're bringing into service alone. Have a look at the equity that you have in your home, if you have a home. Or maybe it means borrowing some money from mum and dad, or buying something with a friend or a family member. Explore options, because the sooner you get in, the sooner you're in a position to getting a little more financial stability, because there's always going to be financial instability, right? But your personal situation, you can have control over by being bold enough to make that move. Interest rates have gone up steadily since, was it May? Did it start sooner? Probably since May. And the people and all it does, every time there's an interest rate rise, it impacts your borrowing capacity by tens of thousands of dollars. So by getting in sooner, it means you could have borrowed more to buy a property that would have been halfway built. By the time it's completed, you'll have a tenant in there paying way more than what was quoted in terms of your rental income. Because like I said, I've seen rents go up 30, 40% in the last 12 months. I've seen it with my clients. We quoted them a 5% yield. One of them's getting 7%, and the other's getting 6%. That's positive cash flow that's more than going to cover the cost of their property. And that's why we focus on positive cash flow, because as interest rates rise, there's a buffer there to cover those costs in the rental income, because you've got something that's earning more than what it costs to build and what it costs to purchase. I think a lot of people are in pain because they believe that negative gearing is the answer. But negative gearing means you have to pay out of your pocket. And as interest rates went up, people are paying more and more out of their pocket. And that's where it hurts, because you just can't get more money out of your property that way. And you've just got to find income from another source to cover those increasing costs. So don't sit on your hands. Don't wait and watch. Honestly, if you have the wherewithal to do it, do it. It's a long-term game.
Yeah, awesome. Love that, Maria. You definitely know your stuff there. And let's put it on a bit of a different angle now, because you're an amazing woman in many different ways, and I know you enjoy doing some new challenging experiences that make you grow over the years. So do you want to maybe tell us a few examples of what you've done, and also why you choose to do them as well?
Well, I don't think it's anything particularly extraordinary, but I just have lots of hobbies and passions. So I don't know if people want to hear, I love performing in theatre, music, theatre and straight plays. I find it particularly challenging, especially with the way work can get pretty full on. But it's fun and rewarding, because even this year, particularly this year, I'll talk about my theatre group, the Guild Theatre. With all that had been going on in COVID, it really impacted the theatre space. It impacted all of us as performers. We didn't get to have our plays on even last year. We had to change the whole program with that fabulous lockdown. And then participants, you know, audiences, when we were open, were reluctant to come, and theatre really hurt, everyone knows. So this year, with all the negativity of COVID, lockdowns, and then interest rates and everything else, there's been a lot of negative stuff reported in the media. So they focused on doing a comic program for the whole year. Normally we have a mixture of a couple of dramas, different types of dramas, and a couple of different comedies. This time we had one drama, but it was feel good at the start, and then the other 3 shows were comedies. And I starred in one of them that just got such a huge reaction, and it was very rewarding being on stage and hearing the laughter, and it was constant laughter, and then receiving the feedback afterwards. It was wonderful to be part of something that generated so much happiness and joy. So I find that acting can be a selfish thing for some, but ultimately it's about the audience, and that was extremely rewarding. All 3 last shows were very funny. The last one just finished on last Saturday, and again, you know, it had the audiences just in stitches. And it's just wonderful that we were able to provide so much happiness and light at a time where people are feeling, you know, pain in different ways. So that was wonderful. So that's one of my hats. I love theatre. And another thing which I will recommend to anyone is fitness. I'm a fitness junkie. I've been a runner all my life. And it's a great way to clear the mind and get back to nature as well. I actually did my first half marathon at 37. Yeah, even though I ran all my life, and found that to be an extraordinary experience, just for the fact that you are surrounded by people who share your passion for running, and there were a lot of them. So that's another thing that gives me a real buzz.
Yeah, awesome. Great to hear those other sides, and I'd love to see you perform at some point, and great achievement with the half marathon, because that's challenging in itself. I love that, Maria, and you provided a lot of amazing value for everyone today. And as we're wrapping up, what one key piece of advice would you give to all the entrepreneurs that are wanting to, you know, invest in property, that are watching and listening today?
Honestly, the one thing I would say is seize the moment. I know that's vague and general, but really seize the moment. Feel the fear and do it anyway if you are fearful. But seize the opportunity that presents itself, because there are signs there all the time, and I don't think everyone hears them, sees them, is open to them. Whatever it is in life, whether it's about investing or exploring a relationship, life is for living. Go out there and embrace the challenge of it. And if you're a little trepidatious, then seek counsel and support from experts who really know what they do. And if you really, really want something in life, seek out the people who've got it, surround yourself with it, and it'll rub off.
Yeah, I love that. Amazing points there. And yeah, we connected that through our networks, where I learned about your awesome journey from, being radio and marketing communications to now helping people invest in properties in high demand areas that provide positive cash flow. You're an amazing woman. I'm sure you'll continue to help people achieve a passive income and financial independence, so they transform and grow their wealth too. I'm very grateful that we connected, and I look forward to working with you. So Maria, how can people find you and get in contact with you?
Well, people can, my email is maria@pistore.com.au. If you look up Maria Micallef, you'll see me on YouTube and LinkedIn, as well as Facebook. And then, of course, our website, which is propertyinvestmentstore.com.au. We've got some Google reviews there as well, where you can see some happy scenarios from previous clients. And, you know, I really would love to be able to help more people get wealthy in this country. You know, let's increase that percentage of financially independent people in this country.
Yeah, love that.
Why not you?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely check out Maria. She'll definitely help you to get your property dreams to become a reality. And thank you to everyone for watching and listening to this show where we talk about everything on business growth. And please like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as Athin Cassiotis, or visit my website, athincassiotis.com. And if you want to grow and scale your business, you can reach out to me on any platform to see if we're a good fit. And I completely agree with you. Or do I? The only way you'll know is if you tune in next time. So until next time, remember that our business grows when we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. So remember to design your growth and results.